Good evening. The hour of 6 o'clock being upon us, I would like to call the meeting to order. I'd like the board members to introduce themselves, and then we'll do a roll call to the board members that are here tonight. I'm Med Kupczynski. I'm the Economic Development Director for the City of Keene, filling in tonight as Vice Chair and actually chairing the meeting for our Chair, Andy Oram, who is on family business.
Hi, I'm Martha Curtis, and I'm one of the board members.
Hi, I'm Tom Savastano. I'm one of the board members too.
Okay. Allison Welsh, we understand, has a physical impairment from being here tonight. I would like to declare that we have a quorum of the committee and therefore can conduct business. Has the board had an opportunity to look at the previous meeting minutes? Okay, very good. So with that, can I get a motion to accept the minutes?
Make a motion to accept last month's minutes.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Very good. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Motion carries. What I'd like to do now is open the public hearing. We have one license application for this evening. The applicant, Samuel Lake, Executive Director of the Keene Serenity Center located at 34 Mechanic Street, Keene, which is in the Downtown Limited District and owned by Dew Properties, LLC, is requesting a congregate living and social service license for a group resource center as defined in Chapter 46, Article 10 of the City of Keene ordinances. And with that, I would like to open the public hearing itself, having read the petition, and perhaps city staff could give us an idea of what we're doing.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As mentioned, the Serenity Center is a group resource center currently existing, operating. They are in the Downtown Limited District, which allows for the group resource, but does not require a CUP since it's an existing operation, but does require the license from this board. And that is the reason that Samuel is before you tonight, is for that license.
Okay. I would request we get close to the mic so that everybody can hear. Hopefully everybody can hear me. Can you hear me? Okay, good. Very good. All right. So, Mr. Lake, could you please step up? And perhaps you can give us some information, present your petition, and tell us what you guys are doing.
Sure.
Okay.
My name is Samuel Lake, and I'm the Executive Director of Keene Serenity Center, which we've been incorporated since 2013 and doing our business, so to speak, in Keene. We've been at this location for going on 3.5 years on Mechanic Street. We originally started out on Carpenter Street. So functionally, we have been operating under the same guise of peer support agency, focused on helping with the substance use disorder concerns in our community. And our organization falls under what's called a recovery community organization, which in the state currently there is 20 spread out across the state. And that falls under the state's guidelines for the hub and spoke model. Mm-hmm. And the hub being, I'm sure most everyone here is aware, the hub would be what we call the doorways, and that's the medical entrance for people serving the substance use disorder help. And the spokes, which is what our recovery community would be, the spokes are kind of the peer support that guide people, both to the doorway if they need medical treatment, and from the doorway after they've had the medical treatment. So offering peer support. Like I said, we're one of 20 across the state. All 20 are individual organizations. We're supported under a guide, our fiduciary organizer, which for us is Harbor Care, for the state of New Hampshire. So Harbor Care oversees all 20 of these RCOs, and the majority of our funding comes through that fiduciary organizer's plan. And the funding comes from a variety of grants, block grants, state opioid response, which has now been limited federal grants, SAMHSA grants, and some from the Governor's Council on alcohol and other drugs. So that's kind of what we do. We basically, I don't know how much you guys want me to talk.
As much as you feel you need to let us know what you're doing.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
we're here.
Well, I talk all day long, so.
Yeah, well, that's
And if
not a
you're,
bad thing.
I just want to know, is the audience interested?
Well, this audience is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So our main function, so we're open, we have open hours, and we do telephone recovery supports for individuals, and also individual support via a method called recovery coaching. And so we have people that are trained peer recovery support specialists, and then also certified recovery support workers. And that person is somebody who has lived experience, who is willing and available to share their experience to help someone move through a use problem disorder, whatever it may be, including with harm reduction. So that's what our day is like. We also have a transportation program for people in recovery. It's called Road to Recovery for us. Currently, it's just one car that's operating, and we operate Monday through Saturday here in Keene. And the purpose of that is help anyone seeking recovery from substance use disorder, to let transportation not be a barrier for them. And so that include getting appointments to medical care, appointments to treatment, to and from treatment, which is kind of a big barrier. In the past, we've always done people going to treatment, they get an Uber ride, which is thankful for the Uber ride, but it's a difficult place. Like, a lot of people don't make it from point A to point B because they don't have an engaged individual. You know, we have a peer support person that's driving our car, so we offer that transportation. That's the basis of, you know, what we got going on.
Okay, very good. I think we'd like to ask you a few questions.
Okay.
And with that, I would open the floor for our board members if they have any questions of Mr. Lake at this time.
I did have a question. In reading...
Martha, could you
Oh, I'm
get a little
sorry.
closer to the mic?
Or move the mic.
Yeah, thank
There we
you.
go. I did have a question. I'm Martha Curtis. I had a question regarding, under number 2, you said that most of your meetings are during the day, but you have group meetings and workshops outside of business hours.
Correct.
Typically, how late are those? Are they
The
early evening
latest-
or?
Yeah, the latest I think we have currently is 8:30 is the latest. We have a meeting on Sunday night that's 8 o'clock, 5:30 to 8. Typically that 8:30 would be the late.
As
would be
late
the
as they
late
go?
meeting, yeah.
Yeah.
And then workshops are really hit or miss. We plan them, but generally the workshops are in the day. We just had one Saturday. It was from 9 to noon on Saturday. So that's outside of normal business hours. We'll do that, but typically pretty manageable.
Good. Thank you.
Mr. Savastano, do you have any questions?
Yes, Mr. Lake, I noticed on your website that you referred to the harm reduction and what's involved with that. And I didn't see on the application, and I was just wondering, is that something that you're actively doing, or?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Both in outreach and internally, and that really our focus is to honor people all pathways to recovery, so whatever you need to do, and that includes medicated assisted treatment, medicated assisted recovery, and it also pretty much any barrier as far as harm reduction goes. We do harm reduction trainings, we do harm reduction coachings, which are important, naloxone training, overdose trainings, and so that's the main gist of, harm reduction. But it is an important piece of what we do, absolutely.
Is it mostly done, there's a combination, I guess, maybe of on-site and off-site, is it?
Correct,
Or so-
correct.
Okay. That's the
Mostly
way I read it.
on-site right now, mostly on-site.
Okay. Any further questions? Okay. I have two, if you don't mind.
I know.
Your client base, I assume we refer to the individuals as clients, right?
Yeah. Peers
Okay.
or participants.
Peers, okay,
in
or
our-
participants, thank you, I'd like the right term. Are they generally from Keene, or are they also from Cheshire County?
Cheshire County, but generally it's Keene.
Right.
Although there is this population is pretty transient, moving around, especially, we work a lot with people suffering with homelessness, and so that population can shift, certainly.
Yeah.
But it is generally right here in Keene.
So,
Most people don't have transportation. They either walk to our site or
Yeah.
use our transportation program outside, but it's Cheshire County.
so that actually led me to another question, but, so when you're counseling your clients and they're homeless, are there any resources that you steer them to try to get them a home, or you just stay completely out of that?
No, absolutely. We are resource brokers, is what we say. So we partner with any organization that's
Right.
willing to partner. Southwestern Community Services, we pretty much connect with on a daily basis, and that's our CAP provider or housing resource provider, and definitely their Monadnock Family Services has a homeless outreach person that works, Kevin McLean, and we communicate with him daily about resources. But it's also we're whatever avenue is a barrier for the person that's seeking support, and
Okay.
oftentimes it is housing. Sometimes it's right at the beginning on it's getting identification. It's getting proper health care, getting a primary care physician. Any barrier that we're going to work with.
Do you-
And we're going to use our partners in the community for that support, because most of that we don't offer directly.
You connected with the city of Keene, I would assume also.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. The other question that I have is, you're on the edge of a residential district, and no matter what the business is, occasionally there's issues and
Yeah.
whatnot that come up. Do you have any sort of communication plan at your entity on how you would deal with that?
Well, nothing structured, I will say, and that was one of the questions on
Yeah.
the board.
It'll be structured tonight when you answer it.
Okay. Face it head on is the one piece about community engagement that we've always focused on, which has worked so far. Hence, as far as I know, there's no major complaints about Keene Serenity Center.
Right.
And we've been doing this for quite a while. And obviously, you guys have a picture of our population that we work with, and it's pretty low barrier individuals that we work with.
Yeah.
It is lucky for us, perhaps, our location. I'm glad that we're not in a residential neighborhood, for that sake. We share, across the street is the community kitchen, literally the same participants that use the resources at Community Kitchen are going to tend to use the resources at Keene Serenity Center. And so that works right there. We have had, I won't say complaints, but our concerns, we've had calls, anyone that's in the greater downtown area of Keene, if somebody finds a syringe on the streets, they call and will kind of like, this is your fault, this is here, because obviously we're supporting in some way that person that's struggling with substance use disorder. My response back generally when it's that is that, we'll do whatever, we'll come get that syringe that you found on the street. Like I'll personally run out right now with a proper container, and we'll dispose of that and get it off the street, because part of why we support harm reduction is because we do want our neighborhood to be clean and free and safe. And part of that safety has to be the individuals that are struggling do need to have a resource.
Right.
And in a lot of cities and a lot of places, and the city of Keene used to be one that's hinging into being more supportive as far as facing these, crisis problems such as substance use disorder, homelessness. But if you ignore it, the people are still there. If you offer no services, the people are hiding in your backyard.
Yeah.
We have to find a way to face it, so to speak.
Do you do any public outreach?
Yeah, as much as we can.
Much as you can?
Yeah. Yeah, we're, for instance, we've already been at the Swamp Bats game with a full booth twice this year. We weekly do, we're New Seasons Keene Metro, which is our local methadone clinic.
Yeah.
We do a table there weekly. We do a table at the Department of Corrections, actually, where we offer coaching services or just we're available. The public library, we do Friday afternoons from 1 to 3. We host a table there. And certainly anyone that would invite us, we will outreach and go speak to.
You see, we just created your outreach plan, your contact thing,
Yeah.
right? I did have another question, but I've lost it. That's okay. That's what happens when you get old. All right, so with that, we have no public here tonight, so there's no public opinion. Oh, what I did want to say is, as far as the city of Keene being progressive in this, it's one of the reasons why we created these categories.
Yeah.
Is to recognize the fact that these different types of uses exist, and to put a home for them, quite frankly. You know, because before we did that, they really didn't have that home,
Correct.
right? So I think we're actually being quite progressive in doing
Correct.
this. Do we have any further comments at this time? Very
Yeah, I
good.
was just wondering, Med, is it, just, I'm just trying to remember the order. Is there like a deliberation process that we go through?
There is. What I need to do first is actually close the public hearing, which is what I'm going to do right now. And now we can talk about the petition or however you want to discuss this. So, Mr. Savastano, do you have some comments that you want to make?
Yeah, I think that the concern I had was just that the application be completed according to a process.
Right.
It seemed to me that there were some things that were left out in some of the different categories. Like, for instance, the neighborhood relations plan. There's a couple other things that I think that you referred to, Mr. Lake, in like the other documents that you provided. But I was thinking, gee, I'd like to, this is the first application, you know, before us, and it'd be great if there was a way that it was just, okay, here's the question, okay, this is what answers it, here's the next question, you know, according to the application. I think in part to build kind of a pattern going forward that is regular and, you know, is you know, it's just constant, you know, that, okay, yeah, we considered point by point by point. So that was one concern I had, was just that it be filled out more. And even with the harm reduction, I must say, it sounds like, you know, you're doing great work and everything, but you know, to put that into as part of the application, because I had to go to the website, and I mean, I looked at your website and I just saw that and I didn't see it in the application, so that it be in there, I think is good to do. And so completeness was my concern with this.
Okay. Are you satisfied at the moment?
I think I'd rather see it be filled out before approving it. Because again, it's just like for consistency, I think maybe going forward, that, like I said, like point by point, okay, you know, this is covered by that statement, this is covered by that statement, rather than, you know, trying to piece it together ourselves.
Okay. Mr. Rogers, you want to speak to that?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would just, you know, put forth to the board that, you know, certainly as it says, this is a new licensing process. Many of these companies that we're going to see, where you know, you see the list of the different types of uses that we're going to be in front of this board seeking a license. I think you're going to see a very wide spectrum of completeness of applications, obviously dependent upon you know, the type of use, where the use is located, and so I think that you're, you know, again, I certainly understand the concern for completeness, but I would just put forth that we're going to see a very wide spectrum of what we're getting for information in, and I don't think it's going to be as simple as a, you know, a checklist A through Z of this is what you need to provide, because it's going to mean different things for different organizations and different locations. Would be the only thing that I would put forth to the board, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, from my perspective, the application is not very clear. Like, I really was like it really was not clear. And granted, we're not, like, our business is really small, you know, it's time, we have 4 staff members and then a bunch of volunteers. And we're board-driven organization, but still, from the perspective is like, I have no idea what the heck they're asking here. Let's throw some stuff out there.
Yeah, I don't blame you, and it's, I think that's some of what it might come down to, is just to, okay, question, you know, if some question comes up and you just say, yeah, I feel this is not relevant to our organization, or, you know, it just to even say, you know, like a
Gotcha.
response for each, I think is probably more proper.
So maybe what we can do with future applications is we can take the time as staff, and I'm not staff in this case, to work with the applicant to be sure that there is a little bit more completeness. I don't really want to hold Mr. Lake hostage on that, but
I do-
future ones we can.
Yeah, I mean, another organization who is applying also is like, they called me, they're like, I have no idea what they're asking, what did you do? And I'm like, I didn't do it right, I just threw stuff that I thought might
Yeah.
fit, is the honest, and so they'll be struggling in the same way.
Yeah.
And, and they're more fitting to this license than we are, because they have respite housing, and I assume, you know, that does change a lot for the licensing.
You know, and I do get the want of consistency. I do understand that as well. You know, and I do understand that this is a new process for us. It's a new process for everybody. So we need to work with people a little bit. You know, not too much, but a little bit. And we will work a little harder. As you know, I'll make sure the chair knows he's going to work a little harder to make sure that the applications might be a little bit more filled out. Because I had this kind of the same concerns, but my thought process was the areas that were gaps for me, I was going to put on the record by, you know, making the applicant actually explain it. But you're correct, he could have done it, or they could have done it as part of the application if they really understood what we were asking. Right?
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Do we have a motion at this time to approve, renew, deny? Of course, we're not renewing. So in this case, would be approve or deny the petition stating, and then who makes the motion and who seconds?
I'll make a motion to approve. I saw that, I thought it was, for this organization, which is not like a rooming house or something like that, I thought it was complete enough, but I certainly respect what you were saying on consistency. That is important.
Okay.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Okay, so we have the motion on the table. What we need to do is we need to go through the actual criteria as part of this. And what has to be considered in this is 3 criteria. And then if we want, we can put conditions on the license itself. One of the conditions could be a more complete application turned into the office, for example, right? So the first condition, the first criteria is the use is found to be in compliance with the submitted operations and management plan, including but not limited to compliance with all applicable building, fire, and life safety codes. We didn't get any evidence on the table on the inspections that have been made, and we'll probably have to put that actually into our rules of procedure to make that a little bit more clear. Mr. Rogers, however, can put on the record what's taken place there.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I apologize. I should have mentioned that at the very start. We did conduct an inspection along with the fire chief and one of the captains from the police department. There were, and from the health side as well. Police and health had no issues. I know fire had a couple of little minor things that were addressed by the applicant. So all 3 departments were satisfied with the inspection that was conducted.
Okay. So the second criteria that we have to consider in our final vote is the uses of a character does not produce noise, odors, glare, and/or vibration that adversely affects the surrounding area. I have comments on that if you'd like. Okay. In the presentation, I didn't hear any. I'm not aware that there's going to be large groups of people coming and going at one time. There's not going to be any noisy operations that occur, which, you know, in some of these uses there could be. It seems pretty much like an office-type enterprise, more or less. Is it? Based on the testimony we received from Mr. Rogers, as well as the testimony itself, the third criteria is the use does not produce public safety or health concerns in connection with traffic, pedestrians, public infrastructure, or police or fire department actions. We've had no indication from the police department or the fire department that they're frequently visiting the place and arresting people. We're not aware of pedestrians being run over. We've had no evidence of any of that type of interaction. Once again, it seems pretty much like an office-type environment more than anything else. Okay? So with that, I'll do a roll call vote. All those in favor of the motion, which was to approve the license, please say aye.
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 I would like to see the application just be completed. And
Yes.
Otherwise,
That could be that could be a condition.
Otherwise, I'm totally in favor of it.
Okay. So it is conditional on the application being filled out. Is that okay, Mr. Rogers, and applicant, with the licensee?
We can certainly take a look at it, and if the board member have any, stuff that they feel that application is specifically missing, if they could just communicate with us, we'll make sure we work with the applicant to get that portion completed.
So the license is approved conditionally on, the application being completed, and Mr. Rogers will work with you on that.
Oh, excellent.
And once
Thank
it's
you.
filled out, we'll send it out to the board members for their satisfaction. Does that sound agreeable?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, very good, thank you. So with that, at this time, do we have any new business to conduct? We do not. So with that, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
And a second.
I second.
I vote we stay here all night.
Cool.
Thank you so much, committee, and thank you for your patience. I'm a little rusty.